ART uses natural language processing to generate technical learning objectives for maintenance task analysis. What's the history behind this approach?
Um, so my background, my deep background actually um, is actually in teaching. I got a master's in education before the internet revolution back in 1990. So a lot of the principles in training and education have gone into the 21st century. And so I still retain the interest in teaching and education and how to organize a classroom and how to organize content in the form of curriculum, but just kind of applied that actually later on into technical manual publishing. That was part of the early SGML and XML days, separating format from content in electronic technical manual publishing. And cutting my teeth on that, I later applied that in the early 90s to what was then the Navy's integrated learning environment, where they, in part, were looking for tech manual requirements for training or training requirements for technical manuals. So that was the first time we started looking at how these two areas kind of crosswalk and connect to each other. Now it's like 20 years later, and we are now developing or have developed artificial intelligence in the form of natural language generation that would read an actual maintenance task analysis and pull out key pieces of data and reformulate it into an actual learning objective. So we've really kind of come a long way of saying what are the tech data requirements for training by elevating it over the course of a couple of decades into these types of capabilities that configure or directly link the thing that needs to be taught to the authoritative source upstream, and then they are forever linked for the time that particular product is in a life cycle stage.
So how does the training material remain linked to the upstream product engineering data?
So by being able to derive technical learning objectives directly from a maintenance task analysis, you actually create a digital thread that allows for configuration management, so that particular learning objective and the corresponding course that is derived from those learning objectives are forever linked upstream to authoritative source information, like a maintenance task analysis, like a planned maintenance task analysis, or like a list of parts or an engineering drawing.
And what's the benefit of linking training to the source product engineering data in this way?
So by having learning content, technical learning content, managed and authored in the very same space as all of the other product data, you now have assured a sense of accuracy and timeliness to your content while retaining the confidence that what is sent to the fleet is the latest and the greatest.
And how big a change is this in terms of the evolution of training content?
Provided that you follow your business processes. So this is a cultural change. It's an organizational change. So the digital thread aspect has been proven time and time again throughout industry. This is nothing new. Product lifecycle management systems have been on the market for the better part of a decade. And many types of industries outside of the Navy, within the Navy, have been using this. So by bringing training into a model-based product support environment and managing that training content like any other piece of content on that digital thread, that is when you can have that confidence. Now, this is good for the Navy, it's good for defense, but the fact that we are using commercial-based data standards to do this enables it to scale and be applicable to communities of practice outside of the Navy, or maybe even outside of the Army. It could be applicable to places like Caterpillar or Saab, or people that build cars.
And when and why did GPSL become part of the ART team?
Well, it all started in the few months leading up to the start of work meeting for ART back in August, middle of August of 2018. And I really wanted to have somebody who had product lifecycle management skills and understanding of tools. So we immediately were thinking of PTC. So they referred us to GPSL. And so I got a contact at GPSL and then kind of brought them into the project. And they became the folks that became our technical lead for actually how Windchill would work within training. And it just so happens with Windchill being core to MBPS, it also became core to ART. And of course, we're all going to be using the same. So the people that are on my project support the MBPS project as well, and we're all going to converge in October in the next fiscal year as a single project, where ART will be part of MBPS, and the GPSL team will be, obviously supporting the training piece as well as all of the other MBPS models. Yeah, so I have to give shout out to Chris Moffat, Mike Friedman, Christine Bergling, Scott Alshouse, who have been great supporters in this from the very beginning and still with us today. They're very open, and it's really great to see how excited they are about reaching out to the training, the competency, and even the credentialing side.
That's really great to hear. I know that they're all really proud to be part of the ART team. So what wider impact do you think that the ART project will have?
I really believe that the next big market for data management is going to be technical training. If you look at it from the PLM perspective, because you need training for people to do their work, and if there is no training, then the types of systems that Windchill and other PLM systems support will just not perform to the expectations required. We've been able to identify the key properties in product support that naturally emerge as things that need to be taught and learned. And we can take that data and transform it into competency statements, performance statements, learning objective statements, course outlines, and even the great potential, and this is what we're working on, is the ability to do performance measurement by looking at all of the different pieces of information in a maintenance task analysis that establish a standard or a degree of behavior. For example, time. If we have a property that says it must be done in under 30 minutes, then we know that that becomes a baseline by which to measure someone's performance down the line.
And from your perspective, what does the future look like for ART?
So there's lots of areas for exploration. There's data management, there's immersive learning environments, there's improvements to acquisition. I think one of the more interesting types of things to explore is how can we better output or better render or better develop models, simulations, virtual environments, augmented reality that is actually data driven from other product data. So we know that we can output, say, a SCORM course. We can output an IETM. We can output a PDF. We can output level 4 tech manuals. How can we actually put our attention to outputting automatically a simulation? Now, a simulation or a model that's used for immersive learning still has the very same issues as any other type of course that gets delivered to a schoolhouse. It's a configuration item. So if the authoritative sources change, if the source engineering drawings change, if the design changes, then that immersive environment has to be reviewed for a design change, just like any other piece of product data that needs to be reviewed according to a design change. So how can we actually render, maybe through decision support tools, because I don't want to use the word automatic, too liberally. How can we use decision support tools that allow us to build simulations more on the fly while having components of those immersive environments, regardless of the format, be directly digitally threaded back upstream to authoritative source? And how do we actually ensure that the right performance measurement hooks are in place? So when a learner or a maintainer engages with that immersive environment, we capture their activity streams, take those activity streams and put them into a learning record store, and then use that as a means to compare against the baseline behavioral performance expectations. So immersive and the output of models and simulations that's data-driven as a configuration data item is really, really kind of interesting, and we shall see. And I believe, for us to actually be thinking about that, and we talk about that on ART, is kind of like an indication of just kind of the excitement level that we have on our team about looking forward, while still making sure that we cover our bases now and making sure the fundamentals are in place